What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Total Specialist. First of all, saw that weigh-in to 275.4. I mean, it can't get any more poetic or coincidental. The same weight that I started the previous block and this whole program with, I'm starting this block with. Clearly no progress has been made in that department, but that's alright. I wanted to touch base with you guys really quick because I've been talking the entire last week about changes to the program. What changes I'm making to the program? Thinking about what I'm going to do. Thinking about how I'm going to proceed moving forward. Thinking about this. Thinking about that. The truth of the matter is that I was very much overthinking things. I was very much thinking about things way too deeply. And realistically, there's not a lot of wrong decisions that can be made at this point in time. So, I am usually very bad at being decisive. Too many options, and I can't make a choice. This is exactly the problem I'm having right now. Too many options, and I can't make a choice. So what I've decided to do is I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. And we are going to just make a decision right here, right now. This is what the program is going to look like moving forward. And we are not going to budge from this. This is it. This is it. So, here are the changes. I got my phone here, so got some notes. So if I'm looking over here, this is why. For starters, we're switching from incline dumbbell to flat dumbbell press. The reason I'm doing this is because, one, it's more specific, and two, I'm running out of room for progress. I really wanted the hundreds, but it doesn't quite look like I'm gonna get there. It sucks, but it's all right. We'll get there eventually. One day I'll press the hundreds. I might do it on flat, just a slightly more specific variation. And if we're going to go into a test, I'm going to get a little bit more specific. I'm switching from wide grip pull downs to neutral grip pull downs. Now, this is going to be not super close, but probably about shoulder width, or for me, it'll be just inside the shoulder. But we're switching from wide grip to neutral grip, and the reason for that is twofold. One, I am so incredibly sick of wide grip pull downs. Number two, it's better for the upper back, which is better for my bench press, and that's why I'm switching from wide grip to neutral grip. Plus it was time. I'm tired of wide grip. I'm switching from easy bar preachers to dumbbell preachers. I just want more unilateral work, and from a hypertrophy standpoint, I actually think it's better to do unilateral preachers. So for the first time, I think, in many, many years, I am going to do dumbbell preacher curls. And it's one of my worst variations, but I think it's great for size. I really do. Kind of over barbell curls for now. Going to put them to the side and focus more on dumbbell curls. For the last part of day one, I'm throwing in tricep overhead extensions with a cable. First of all, I want an overhead extension. I don't want to not have an overhead extension. I want to hit as many of the heads of the tricep as I can. And doing cable overhead extensions is something that I haven't done in a long time. So I was debating on whether or not to put this on the same day that I do my vertical press, but I decided to split them, so that there was some, I could kind of sneak in a little bit of the, 48-hour recovery window, as well as, not being so fatigued after the vertical press that I can kind of really use some relatively heavy weight on them. So, tricep overhead extension with a cable. I'm probably going to use like a bar and not a rope. And that's that for day one. Those are all the day one switches. For day two, and I was weighing the pros and cons of this. There was this big question about, do I want to put hack squats in? And I was thinking and thinking and thinking. In the end of the day, I have decided that I'm not going to put hack squats in. We're going to keep the leg press. We're just going to ride it out. Because I haven't leg pressed in a long time, and you know what? If the range of motion is too short, oh well. It's not like it feels bad, so, at worst I'm losing a little bit of gains. And the thing that I worry about doing hack squats on the same day as doing back squats and remaining deadlifts is the recovery aspect. Despite the absolute load being a lot larger, I think the systemic fatigue of doing a leg press is less than a hack squat. I would have loved a belt squat here. If I had access to a belt squat, I would only be doing belt squat. Like, I would be doing belt squat all the fucking time. Like, seriously, belt squat is undefeated. But I guess the legs press is a good consolation prize. Sort of. It's not as good, but like I said, I haven't pushed it in a long time, so I think we're just going to ride it out here. And aside from that, nothing is changing about the SBD day. Still keeping the hamstring curls, still keeping the seated calf raises, still keeping the closed grip bench, all that good stuff. Moving on to day 3, the only thing that I'm going to change is the hammer curls. I'm taking them out. This might be the one thing that might be a bad decision because hammer curls are supposed to be great for building strength in this position, and they're supposed to carry over to the bench really, really well. However, I'm tentatively going to swap them for incline curls. I figured if we're training in a more shortened position by doing preachers, then we could train them in a more lengthened bias position by training incline curls. And I feel like the combination between doing the preachers unilaterally, doing the incline dumbbell curls unilaterally will lead to some very, very good bicep gains. But everything else is staying the same. I'm keeping the dumbbell interior press, crossbody cable tricep extensions, and I'm keeping the incline shoulder Ys. Then finally for the deadlift day. This is the big one. So we are for sure taking out SSB squats. They're just gone. Like, they were never even alive. They didn't even exist. We're taking out SSB squats. In their place, there's still some debate in my head. Do I want paused or do I want tempo? And as much as I don't want it, now that I'm thinking about it, cursing myself, why am I doing this? I'm going to go tempo. We're going for tempo squats as our primary squat variation. So when we get to that day, I'll probably talk a little bit more about what my estimated 1 rep max is for tempo and how we're going to do that moving forward. But tempo squats moving forward. Goodbye, SSB. Hope to never see you again until I get a real SSB. Aside from that, we are keeping the fucking Bulgarians. I started talking about Bulgarians, I start choking. Is it omen? But yes, we're keeping the Bulgarians. I mean, you have to. We're keeping the 45-degree back extensions. I was debating on whether or not to do 90-degree back extensions. I was also thinking about doing dumbbell Romanians, but I just wanted a slightly different movement pattern, even if technically it's all the same musculature. So we're keeping the 45-degree back extensions, and we're keeping the standing calf raises, of course. Now, one last point, ab work. I haven't neglected ab work, but it's definitely been the lowest on the rung of priorities. But I gotta take the core work seriously. So here's how we're going to structure the core work. Day 1, machine crunches. We're gonna keep that in. We're gonna milk that. Hopefully we make some real gains on that. And I'm gonna try to push that as close to failure as possible. Okay? Day 2 is where we're switching it up. I'm thinking about pairing my lower body sessions with isometric core work and my upper body sections with more flexion-based core work. See, I feel like that makes a little bit more sense. Besides, sometimes isometric core work can have kind of a decompressing effect. So that's also why I think it's pretty good to put it on days where I'm doing a lot of axial loading. Planks on squat days. Okay. Day 3, we're going to take the cable crunches from day 4 and put them here. Now we're doing cable crunches on day 3. And that means that for day 4, we're doing another isometric core exercise. Now, there's a couple of possibilities here. Number 1, I could do planks again. Why not? Number 2, I could do a GHD iso core hold. So if you don't know what that is, even though it's pretty self-explanatory, you get on a GHD and you go backwards so that you're facing where your legs are. And you fall back until you are flat and you hold that position. The isometric contraction on that is insane. I've tried it a couple times. I could barely get 5 seconds without my entire body convulsing. It was hard as hell. I would love to get good at those. So there's a third option, and that's to do a side plank or an oblique plank. Now, side planks are also a good warm-up. I know that back in the day, my coach wanted me to do Copenhagen's, which is an elevated side plank, and I was like, I can't do that shit. Like, I can barely do that. But now, I'm thinking, not there yet, but I feel like my core is a lot stronger. It's been a few years. So maybe side planks are a good move here. Get some novelty, right? Haven't done side planks in a long time. Something different than regular front planks that challenges a different section of the abs, but still contracts them isometrically and has somewhat of a decompressing effect. So I've decided to go with side planks here. But I mean, it might be so that I can't get anything more than 20 seconds. We got flexion, isometric for the core work, and we're not going to skimp on them. One complaint that I have is if you look in the program sheet, they're clearly like fixed numbers here. For instance, let's say I want to do cable crunches, right? Okay, so that's 15 to 20 reps, right? That makes sense, right? But if I take that cable crunch and I swap in side planks, which is for time, right? The value doesn't change. It still says 15 to 20. So, Strength Studio TT, what's going on over there, guys? This is something that you should work out. I'm not too sure how you'd work it out. I feel like it may be if there's some way to attach like a menu that says, hey, if you choose this option, then this drop down comes, or this outcome is, you're able to use formulas to predict 1 rep maxes and all that stuff. And I know this isn't a mathematical formula, and I'm not an expert in Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel, so maybe I'm just speaking out of my ass here, but if I select an option that's for time, I shouldn't get 15 to 20 reps or 15 plus. Like, it should be 30 to 60 seconds. Now, I know, because it's for time, that I'm going to pick 30 to 60 seconds. But let me tell you guys, there are some stupid people in this world. Really, really dumb. And I can totally see some idiot saying, hey, it says 15 to 20, so that means 15 or 20 seconds on the isometrics. Or even more genius, somebody picks like flexion exercise in the section that says 30 to 60 seconds and does 30 to 60 seconds worth of cable crunches or V-ups. I could totally 100% see that. So I'm not mad at you because I'm sure this is something that you probably didn't even think about. But just be aware that that's happening. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about when it came to the adjustments that are being made for the program. If there's anything that happens, obviously I'll address it in the videos. But without further ado, guys, we got to get this block underway.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the commentary section. First day, week 6, new block. Started off with a top triple. 315 was on the bar today. This triple was at a 6.5 RPE. Was it? Possibly. Oh, I don't know. And then we had a back off single, or maybe not a back off, a back on single at 7. 335 is what it suggested. And I say, you know what? That sounds fine to me. And I would say that's a pretty decent single. I'm not going to lie. The logic of having a single after a top triple escapes me a little bit, but hopefully all will be made clear in the future. Maybe it's like a priming set where you go in and you hit a heavy weight to prime your body to hit an even heavier weight, because sometimes, I don't know if you guys noticed this personally, sometimes you go in and you hit a heavy set and it doesn't feel that great. And then the rest of your sets feel so much better. But usually that's because the weight's reduced. I don't know. Anyway, we had back off triples with 295. It was supposed to be at 6.5 RPE before we drop again, and I overshot. On this third set you're watching right now, I knew I was going to overshoot for sure. It was not going to be a 6.5 RPE. Do not do what I did, guys. I knew before even putting this bar on my chest that it was going to be an overshoot, which means that I should have dropped after 2 sets instead of 3, but I didn't because I was thinking, well, maybe it'll be a 6.5. Don't do that. Don't do that. So this was the last triple. I dropped to 280, and much more appropriate. A lot of bench volume. I moved into flat dumbbell press, 80s today. So here's what happened. So usually it's 3 sets and an AMRAP, right? Well, I loaded the weight in and didn't suggest anything for the AMRAP. Now, does that mean that there is no AMRAP? Like, I put 80 and usually it drops me by about 10% and you do the AMRAP to whatever RPE. But I put in the 80 and it didn't drop me at all because the weight just says 0. There's no formulation. So do you guys think that means that there's no AMRAP? Or do you think that means that I was supposed to select my own weight for the AMRAP? I don't know. This is having some issues with the program, guys. And I've looked through the big video. I mean, I could probably listen to a bunch of other videos, but until we solve this problem, I really generally don't know. I might actually have to send them an email, send them a DM, see what they tell me to do. Hear it from the horse's mouth. We got plate loaded, chest supported rows. That was the top set of 5 to 7 at a 6 to 7 RPE. I selected 125 for that top set, got 6 reps, and I gotta say it was pretty maximal. It might have been a little bit of an overshoot. I may have gone in a little too confident today, just because I was feeling so excited about the new block. But these chest support rows did not go very good. I did 105 pounds from these back off sets. It's supposed to be 3 sets of 10. But I got a set of 10 on the first set, but then I got a set of 7 on the second set, and a set of 9 on the final set because the RPE was 6 to 7. So I might have to stick with this movement a little bit longer in order to figure out, or to progress through the range of reps, even though it doesn't tell me to do that. I should probably be adjusting on the fly, but that's such a pain in the ass. Neutral grip lab pull downs here, 3 sets of 9. 135 pounds was the starting weight because it has been a long time since I did this. And I would say it was probably a set of 9 at RP6. Pretty safe bet. The good news is that there's no bicep pain, which is one thing that I was afraid of going into these, all this volume, all this pressure on the bicep, but there's no residual pain, no nothing. Anything that was there faded after the session was over. So we're sitting pretty, very, very good. So that gives me a lot of confidence moving forward that I'll be able to push much harder. Got our giant set here. Started off with the dumbbell laterals, 27.5 pounds for sets of 12. I switched up my form. So I'm not going as strict as I used to go. I'm going more in front of the body and doing a little bit of body English there. And that's because I want to make sure that I'm getting all the reps in, and peak tension is still there at the top. So there's only so much I could push the technique cyborg type stuff when it comes to laterals. So I'm going to stick with that. Preachers with the dumbbell. Usually I would use a bench, but all the benches were taken, so I had to use this sort of preacher bench. I'm not exactly too sure what this angle is. 20 pounds. These were so insanely hard. I'm going to have my work cut out for me trying to progress these throughout all of the weeks. But I really like them, so there's that. Tricep overhead extensions. Like I said, I was going to try the bar today. I like the bar. I don't think it's too bad. I'm worried about using too much delt with these, so I'm trying to really just cue tricep extension. But I also probably could have used more weight because that was only 50 pounds. So I probably should push that a little bit further. Finished off the workout with some machine crunches, 150 pounds, but I finally got all 3 sets of 20. So we can officially move on from 150 pounds and go up to probably 160 pounds, maybe 160 pounds. We'll take a big jump because we got a wide rep range. It's between 15 and 20 reps. Anyways, guys, that concludes the first day of the block. I'm super excited. I feel like I've talked a lot today, more than I always usually do. So I'm going to shut up now, and I'll see you guys in the next one where we got to do this for squats. Oh my gosh.